Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Speaking About Speaking. And I'm here today with the lovely Alix King. Alix, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much.
Lovely to have you here. You are a freelance journalist and copywriter. So, I've got so much that I want to talk to you about because you have had such a fabulously, a bit like mine, a bit of a jungle gym of a career. But now the reason that you are here on the podcast and that we are in sort of conversation together is because you kind of want to get yourself onto stages and to start speaking about your journey, telling your story for all sorts of reasons, which we will get into. But let's go back to the beginning, the journalism side of stuff. I mean, when you start with your bio, the first thing that people see and with your LinkedIn is the lads mags thing.
Yes, the lads mags.
Yeah, telling me about the lads mags and how did that come about and what was it like?
All lads mags, of which don't exist anymore. They've all gone.
No.
But I've heard recently that Loaded magazine is coming back. So that's news to me in the last 2 weeks. So I was only good at English at school, always with words. I loved words. My mum's good at words. I took after her. So for A-level, I did journalism with English. And then it was only inevitable that I did journalism at university. And then I changed my course halfway through. So you take off different modules, take on different ones, end other ones. And so I had a bit of free time. So I went and did some work experience of FHM for Him magazine, for all those who are old enough to remember. I went to university about half an hour away from London, from King's Cross. So it was easy to get there for me. And it's a week-long work experience. And I started my week and they said, oh, somebody has dropped out the next week. Would you like to do 2? And I was like, yes, I would. Gives you longer to show who you are, how much you can take, if you can take the what's out of yourself, because it's a men's magazine at the end of the day. And there's a lot of boobies. I'm being nice here. Boobies and other things speak in the office, and it's a room full of lads, right? So they work there and they feel comfortable with it. I'm a tomboy. I have an older brother. Nothing phases me. So I went headlong into it. So I had 2 weeks to prove myself, of which they made me do silly things. Go to Soho and pick up some nunchucks, or go and get some briefcases and review them. Ridiculous things. And also look at pictures of women's boobies and pick the best ones, please. You know, it's a lads mag. It was ridiculous. I mean, you couldn't have it nowadays, but it was brilliant. I loved it. And I guess I proved myself as being, they said to me I was a girl next door. So they said, you're great. You're one of the lads. Great. So they gave me freelance work while I was still at university. So I did that. And then after I finished university, I worked there like 3 days a week freelance. And then it's a small industry, the lads mag world in London. And I met the guys from Loaded magazine, IPC Media, which is smaller. It's only British, whereas FHM is worldwide. And they offered me a job to go there, have more freedom in my writing. I could write more, I'm going to say articles, more articles. Articles sounds like they're in the Times. They're not, you know, articles. And I could have freedom. It was an article is an article. And it was great. And I had great fun and I loved it. And I did work for other publications, because you work for IPC Media or EMAP, etc. So they say, can you come and work for Wallpaper magazine for a week? Because I did that, you know, it's great. So I get a great insight into the magazine culture, magazine world in early 2000s.
Yeah.
So that's where
I did some illustration because I was at art school, and I do remember going to one of the magazines. It was a really like a tower block.
IPC Media, it was a tower block. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember going up to the whatever floor.
Kingsreach Tower.
Was it?
Kingsreach
Sitting there with
Tower.
my portfolio.
Oh,
I don't think I got the job. I don't know.
Oh.
It's all so long ago. Not the early 2000s. But those lads magazines were so big at the time. They were, it was that time of TFI, you know, Chris Evans and the ladettes and all of that sort of stuff was going on. It was a great time, I would imagine. I mean, if anybody's got any comments, anybody want to say anything that's out there listening to this, then please do add your comments and we'll endeavour to answer them if we can, if on air. So when you were writing these articles for the lads magazines, were you writing in your own voice as yourself? I mean, or were they
No.
asking you on a persona?
No, it's always personas. And I think I crushed my male friends' imaginations because they would think that it was the real deal. And I said, come on, we all sit around a room, we make it up. So there was I'm really sorry for the content, but I did warn people. So we used to have a lesbian porn star who used to write an article every month, and people would send in their problems, their what things I'm trying to make it nice, things that they wanted their girlfriend to do or say, and then she would answer them. But it was us just sitting around having a laugh. Hey, should we say this? Oh, let's answer it with that. So it was all us. It was all made up, but it was, do you know what? It was fun. And if you
Yeah.
take away the non-PC element of scantily clad women, it was just fun. We weren't being mean, vindictive, rude to people. It was just fun.
Yeah. But they did go out of fashion quite spectacularly, didn't they?
They did.
I don't know whether
They
it was
did.
when the Sun took page 3 away and all of that.
I know.
It changed. It
There's a time and
changed.
a place.
Absolutely. They were of the era, of the
Yes.
time. And then
Yes.
you moved on, and then bizarrely, I mean, obviously you went into a little bit into fashion, which obviously I did as well. Didn't particularly like it. I don't know how you got on in the fashion world.
Not, as I say on my bio, not for me. A world that I have no place in. I didn't understand it. I thought it was fabulous. So I worked for Net-a-Porter. So Net-a-Porter is a huge company now, and it's where you can buy, if people don't know, it's where you can buy clothes straight off the catwalk. And I was in that company for its infancy, so it was in 2 years. So it was small as compared as to what it is now. And I was the office manager, so I just helped with model castings and everybody who was doing the packing and things. And it was a wonderful time, it really was. But no, it was not for me. And Natalie
No.
Massenet owned it, who's huge now. She sold it. She quite famously sold it for millions.
Yeah.
But she was wonderful. It was just great. But I thought, no, not for me. And I always had this. I'm very academic, and even though I got a great journalism degree, I thought, oh, life's a bit too much fun, as you well know, Jackie. In that industry in London, you think, oh, it's a bit too much fun. And I'd always wanted to go and do a law degree, and I thought, well, now's the time. Came back home to Bournemouth, Dorset, and studied for my law degree. So my conversion course degree at
Wow.
Bournemouth
And
University.
yeah, I mean, obviously you were used to writing, but I would imagine that's a hell of a lot of reading and understanding the language.
The thing is, I just think that when people say, well, that's a change, it's not, because it's writing, it's researching, it's editing, and you're applying, cases to a problem, but then don't you do that in regular life? And it's about remembering. It's about having a good memory, especially for exams. But I enjoyed it wholeheartedly. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And so what happened to you were never intending to become a lawyer as such? You didn't
No.
actually go into sort of courtrooms and as a barrister or
Everybody does a law degree thinking they're going to be in a courtroom being a criminal lawyer. They do. I mean, if they don't, then if they just think they're going to be a solicitor with loads of case studies, then no, I don't think so. But I never wanted to be a solicitor. I wanted to work in the legal field. I just found it fascinating. I think for me, I just wanted to study it. So then I got a job after my degree in London for IMG Media, who's a huge company. It's an American company in London. And I worked for the legal department, but to deal with all their streaming, all of their TV rights,
yeah.
so everything to do
Yeah.
with the media, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I was an assistant to a media lawyer, and he said, I'll teach you everything you need to know about intellectual property in 2 years. So I did.
Wow.
And it was great.
And that's a big thing. We've got a comment here from Richard Hiron. I don't know if you know Richard, Alex, but he is a lawyer-ish.
Oh,
Correct me if I'm wrong, Richard. I'm not exactly sure what your qualification is, but I know the law is your thing, and he's here in Dorset. So yeah, he's great at all that sort of legal stuff. And Mark's here. Mark says hi, Jackie, hi Alex, hello, lovely to have you here. So I mean, yes, the intellectual property thing is a big thing, isn't it, in terms of
Oh, huge.
legal stuff,
I
and
mean, it's
especially with
bigger than people think. I just feel like it's a very difficult law. It's very complex. But mine was to break it down for people. For example, our biggest client was Wimbledon, so we used to stream Wimbledon Fortnight. This is in the early days of streaming as well. And my job in that Wimbledon Fortnight was to contact people that were copying the website, copying the logo, stealing our streaming, and trying to pass it off as them, and then charging for it, which is highly illegal. So I'd send them cease and desist orders and then give them, I don't know, 24 hours to stop. Otherwise, we would take legal action, and they would all stop. And it was mainly Russian websites, but just loads of them, loads would do it. So we'd be constantly busy during that time. But it was it was quite fast paced and very, very cool,
Yeah.
very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I assume then they did it, and they got, before you managed to get the cease and desist in, they'd kind of got out of it what they wanted, I would assume.
Absolutely. They'd stolen exactly what they wanted, got some money for it, and and they would try again. So it's quite,
yeah.
Yeah.
Fabulous. And then what happened next? Where did you go from there?
This is the big one. So I'd been there 2 years. I promised my boss I'd stay for 2 years. And then I had a friend in Bermuda. Now I need to say Bermuda properly. When you're from Bermuda, they say, English people say Bermuda, which it's Bermuda. So it's got Bermuda. So I had friends there, and luckily I'd been to stay a few times. It's a beautiful place. It's a British colony. It's a tax haven for us, which is wonderful. And I've been a few times and I loved it. And he said to me, my boss in London, why don't you go there? Go and make some money, have a good time. You've worked really hard for me, and then do what you want to do after then. Decide what you want to do. So you have to apply from England. You can't go there, get a job, and then stay there. You have to apply from here. You have to prove why you're better than a Bermudian to get the job and work at that job. So I got a job as a media reporter for criminal barristers. So there's only one court in Bermuda. It's a tiny island. It's smaller than the Isle of Wight. They haven't got room for anything. They've got a prison, amazingly. So the courts deal with burglaries, traffic incidences, murders, everything, you name it. It's in the same courts. I would shadow the barristers to the court case, and then I would write it up for the law reports, the newspapers, the radio, the TV, one TV channel, you name it. I would have to write it up and tell the island about it. So that was my job. Fascinating again.
Yeah.
In paradise.
Well, in paradise, absolutely. A bit like the TV series. Obviously, were there lots of deaths in paradise? Was there a lot going on?
Do you know? So for a tiny island, there are lots of unfortunately, lots of gangs, and it's tiny, but still they manage to get killed, and there's lots. So it's a moped accidents. There's lots of stabbings, shootings. They managed to get arms into the country, but in lobster pots. That's how they get them in the country. It's horrible. But I saw it all, so some of it was nasty. Don't want to remember it, but it's. And to have that kind of insight into it in depth was, you have to shut off to its real life, but just see it as work.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah. And you were there for 2 years?
I wasn't. No. I wasn't there for that long. So I had previously been there to stay, and then I lived there for about 5 months before, and I know you want me to get into this. So I'd been there 5 months, and I dealt well with, I lived in town. I could walk to work. You could get buses everywhere. It's tiny. Again, it's tiny. There are no roads that can go over 30 miles an hour. Tiny, little island. And I decided I wanted to, go adventuring a bit. So everybody rents mopeds or buys a moped. So I rented one from a company called Smats, who's owned by a British man. And he gave me a test on my lunchtime, my lunch break. He says, just go up and down the road. Off you go. You're wonderful. Off you go. Have it for 2 weeks, and then tell me how you got on. And then you go and buy one after deciding what kind of bike you want. So that was the day. So I'd rented it. I'd gone back to my apartment, parked it up, had some lunch with my friend Mark, and then I went to work, and then I don't remember anything else. So that's a moment I can't remember from. So this is now from a story from other people telling me what happened. I came back after.
Perhaps let me just give a little bit of context there, because
Yes, please.
obviously I know you through You Are the Media and the lunch clubs and For the Lads mags and all of that side of you that you've just explained beautifully. And it wasn't until you came to the speaker club, the in-person speaker club that I run in Southbourne, that because you want to get on stages and you want to share your story, that was when I first found out that you had this major accident that actually had changed you and your career and your personal life. You know, it was sort of quite a personal challenge for you. So
Yes.
I didn't realize until you just started talking that this happened in Bermuda. So if you want to carry on from there, and obviously this has taken you, like the conversation we had before we came on, you know, I had something similar happen to me when I was sort of 28 and it changed my life, but it took me a long time to start sharing that story for exactly the same reasons that you're going to explain to us now. But it is that kind of sharing stories that make us feel quite vulnerable, but sharing them because they are relevant to other people. So I hope that makes some sense before you start talking. Yeah. So
and I've never, as we discussed, Jackie, you and I've never shared it publicly because, as you and I agreed, it's something that's happened to me, and I've spoken about it so much within my friends group and my family that to me it's just something that, oh, shut up, Alex, you're going on again about it. But it's interesting to other people, and it's something that I've overcome, and it's a big part of my life. So I think I need to speak about it to encourage others to deal with things similar to it. So yes, I should probably start easier. I have a brain injury, like Richard Hammond. He made brain injuries recognised by the world. So Richard Hammond had a huge car accident on Top Gear, and he was in a coma for quite a while, and he had a brain injury and had to, I think he did a program about it, about overcoming that. Mine is not as bad as his, but similar. So I got on that moped after work with my friend. We rode to the other side of the island, apparently, and I don't know what happened to me. So it's a one lane road, like a B road, and it's just 30 miles an hour. So it wasn't I wasn't speeding or doing anything. Well, I don't think I was. And somehow I lost control, and I went to the other side of the road, the wrong side of the road, where a truck was coming the other way. A small, like with a little cab, but a small food truck. And he saw me. I think I was speeding up. I think I probably I don't know. Obviously, I think about this over the years. I don't know. I'm never going to know. But perhaps I was speeding up instead of slowing down. He slammed on his brakes. I'm still speeding. He hit me. It's awful, but remember, I am fine now. I'm fine now. He hit me. I was hunched over the front, and then he stopped very suddenly. I flew off about 3 meters, which when it's shown to me what 3 meters is, it's a long way. Hit the ground. And the thing that got me is I had this whiplash. I bashed my head on the road with a big helmet on. And that's when your brain gets shaken up inside your head. And that's what the brain injury was. I think if I just slammed myself on a truck, it wouldn't have been too bad. But because it was the road and the bashing of the skull and the brain. So I was taken to hospital and over there, and I was put in an induced coma for 48 hours. You know, it leaves your body to repair itself. And in the meantime, they gave me a brain monitor, was where they drill into your skull and they place a monitor to see if it enlarges or not, because that's when you have brain damage, when it enlarges. Thankfully, I didn't through that 48 hours. But they have a Glasgow coma scale, which is obviously it's found in Glasgow. And it's a scale from 1 to 15. 1 is like brain dead, I think, and 15 is a bit of a knock on the head, you know, but they were, you know, out for however long. And I was 3, which is pretty bad. And they called my mother in England to tell her what happened. The surgeon spoke to her and basically said, can you come over? It's 50-50 whether she lives or not. You need to come here. So my mum had to fly over to Bermuda. And then just as they were bringing me out of the coma, and all's well that ends well. But to cut a long story short, I had to rehabilitate for a long time, come here. It took me at least 18 months to write myself to an extent that I felt well enough to be in society or have a part-time job or something. So I was really bad, very bad indeed. I had rehabilitation back here where you see people on walking machines and balance boards, and I couldn't speak properly because my brain was telling me I couldn't. So I had speech therapists and psychologists, and it's a long journey, and I think I dismiss it quite a lot, but it was a massive journey, a huge part of my life. But then I was back here, back in my hometown, having been in London and abroad for a while, back here to start again. So it was like a catalyst for changing my life again. And I was, it was like a blank page, and I had to decide what I wanted to do then.
Yeah.
Kind of restarting.
I mean, considering everything that you were doing beforehand, that is such a, as you say, a catalyst. It's such a life-changing moment. In that one instant, suddenly everything changes. So how did you feel coming back and sort of realizing that actually life was not going to be the same again?
I remember waking up in my mum's house in my old bedroom, having not lived there for years, thinking, I've got no job, I've got no money, I've got no car, I've got no boyfriend, silly things like that, nothing. I don't know where because I'm come from, the last thing I knew I was abroad, so I haven't got a real home, if that makes sense, a real base, but I know where I am in my family home. So amazingly, I was very positive. My family always gone about how positive I was, and right, let's go, we've got to do something about it. I'm not going to sit here on my bottom doing nothing. So I was called a medical miracle by the doctors here because I was just wanting to get better. I was doing really well in my exercises and my body was battered. I wasn't allowed to work. I was signed off for quite a while. But I went to shadow barristers in Bournemouth because that's, of course, what I was just being used to. And I thought, well, I'm going to do. And it was amazing. And I was allowed into the robing room. And I was allowed into, where the prisoners get sent and they arrive in the courtroom downstairs, and they can talk to their barrister. I was allowed there, and it was something I think they said, keep your brain working and that will help you. It's, it's the only thing you can do. And I did. And I eventually got better and went back to work and found marketing and advertising agencies in Bournemouth. And that's where I met Mark Masters not long after that.
So then it was into marketing and freelancing. I mean, an incredible story. So now, obviously, you have been back working for a while. Do you think now, when you look back, that you, I don't know. I mean, I'd say I had breast cancer at the similar age that you had your accident. And for me, I can look back now and say, yes, it was kind of the best thing that ever happened. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but it has made me the person I am today. And I am grateful for that, because I think I took lots of learning from the process of rehabilitation, from the process of mindset, and all of those things that come alongside with something. It's like a post-traumatic stress, isn't it? You go through that, it's something quite traumatic that happens in your life that changes everything in that moment. It's never going to be the same again. So do you look back now and think it was that you've learned stuff that actually it was a big part of who you are now?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, the accident itself, I've got post-traumatic amnesia for about 8 to 10 weeks. So I don't remember anything. I don't remember being in hospital. I don't remember rehabilitation when I got here to start with. So I've only got a moment that I wake up and I can remember, but I remember a lot. So when I was in Bermuda, expats are forever roaming the world. And I don't think I had a definite plan. And I think it brought me to have a definite plan here and a definite base. I lost a few so-called friends that couldn't handle it or didn't want to, I don't know, deal with it or speak to me. And I think it was kind of a nice clearing of, like people clear their Facebook friends, see you later. And that's quite cathartic, I think.
Yeah.
So that was nice. And I thought to myself, I didn't love law enough to go back into law. Occasionally people ask me to write legal documents, blogs, etc., which I love, but I didn't want to go into in-depth of law. And what did I really love? What do I love doing and am good at? And it was writing. It was editorial, long form copy, marketing copy. And I found people don't realize I didn't know about marketing agencies because I was just in editorial. You know, when you're in London, that bubble, you don't know there's a whole world of marketing agencies out there. And suddenly I learned this wonderful new world and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it taught me a lot. And I'm a different person now. Those who knew me before knew that my personality is slightly different. And I was explaining when I came to your workshop, your first one, why I was there is because the accident stripped my confidence. And yes, I'm confident now because you will say, and John Jockham will say, and Mark Masters will say that one-on-one, I'm very confident and I'm bubbly and chatty. But in a room of people or something that I have this anxiety which comes from my accident and my brain injury, I can't deal with it. I'm not sure. I'm learning to deal with it, but it had changed me hugely, hugely. At the very beginning of my accident, afterwards, I couldn't be in a room of people, or they call it the humdrum. So that humdrum noise in a room where there's lots of going on, and I couldn't deal with it, and I had to leave. That's got better, obviously, over the years, but my confidence to speak hasn't. So that's why I was there. And I remember I shocked John Jockham because he was shocked I was a completely different person when I began speaking about it. Didn't he? He was saying, I've never seen this side of you, Alix.
Yeah, and I think that will surprise people. That will surprise people, I think, to hear that from you, because you do come across as very sort of confident. And I think, you know, in terms of being a speaker on stages and telling this story, you are very engaging. I mean, we did that exercise at the speaker club when you were given, I can't remember what your question was, but you suddenly started talking about shoes, or that was
what's the best advice you've ever been given?
The best advice you've ever been given: always wear good shoes.
Always wear expensive shoes.
Yeah, the way you told the story was really engaging, and I think, yeah, I'd love to get hold of you and put you on a stage, because I think there's so much in there, and that, you know, so tell me quickly why, because we've only got a couple of minutes left now. I can't believe our time's nearly up, but tell me what you would like to share from a stage or in a room, or, you know, speaking wise. Obviously you're very good at putting all this stuff down in writing, but if you were on a stage telling your story for the sake of the audience, because obviously there's no point unless there's something in it for the audience, what is it that you want to, what is it that you'd like them to take away?
I'd like to share, and I hadn't thought about this until recently, because as we said, you just think about it as a story of your life, but you have to, and you and I and people that have been through things, I think, be proud of ourselves for going through something and going out the other end and thinking, actually, I can do this, being very vulnerable, being at a very low place where nothing seems to be going right. Where can I find my way out of here? But creeping out of that and thinking there are people there that can help you, and other people that can speak to you and can understand what you're going through, and to find your calling, and to find out something that works for you and something you can look forward to and something you can work towards. I think that's how I feel I need to tell people. I've been there. You can do it as well. And I love life now. I'm having a great time. I love writing. I've met some fabulous people. I really look up to people that can speak on stage and tell their story. One being Shelley's, who was amazing, very, very vulnerable. I can't say it, very vulnerable. And she had something as well, and she spoke about it. And I thought, and then I looked at you and I and her were sat in the front row, and I looked at you two, and I thought, I need to tell my story about that to help others, to know that they can still live their lives and they can do what they want to do and dream their dreams.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't hold you back.
No, absolutely.
It doesn't have to.
Absolutely. And that's what is motivating and inspiring when you get a good speaker on a stage telling a fabulous story for the audience. Then that, you know, that's motivational and inspirational. And yeah, there's a TED talk there, Alix. Definitely, there's a TED talk there. Come
Watch
see me.
Space.
Yes. In the last minute, I ask everybody, actually, let's put this up because this has been here from Richard for a while. So we got into the accident. So sorry about that, Richard. But Richard says, criminal law is shocking. It isn't as glamorous as they show it on
No.
TV. Although I can't speak for Bermuda, of course, but it's very instructive experience having worked in it, isn't it, Alex?
Oh, it is. And do you know one thing, well, Richard would probably agree with me as well, is that criminal law is a stage. It's theatrical. If you're not bold and if you're not confident, you can't be a criminal barrister, because the British law is so old that you have to act it out. And it is a bit, it's obviously dramatized for the television, but it is almost like that in real life.
Yeah.
They love the sound of their own voices and they have to let others love it as well.
Yeah, and it's again, well, yes, I can imagine it's a great place to be performing. It is as you say, it's a performance. And we haven't even touched on failed nights, but we've got a comment here from Mark. Really enjoyed listening to this. Failed nights has your name all over it, Alex. So that's failed nights that I did this year, which is a great romp through all of your failures. And I'd love to hear those stories, Alex. I'm really, really looking forward to that, to hear the other side of your successes as a journalist. And very, very last minute, I asked this question of all of my guests. In your opinion, what makes a good speaker good and a bad speaker suck?
A good speaker is one that managed to engage their audience and feed off them and find something enjoyable for them. Because if it's not enjoyable, and that might be in a bad way or a good way, but if it's not enjoyable for them, then it won't work. So I guess that's speaking for both of them, really, for the good and the bad. What makes a good one and a bad one. But there have been to some speakers and they can't engage with them. There's no content to engage with them, and that just falls flat. You need to have something that they feel they could take on as part of their lives, and they could see themselves in that world.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. And just to finish, if anybody's got any last comments or questions they want to put in, then throw them into the comments now. If you're watching the replay or listening to the audio, then again, please leave comments, ask questions. I always keep an eye on them and will endeavour to answer anything that's out there. So if you've got anything for me or Alex, then please put them in there. I'm just going to lastly show, this is your website, alixking.com, and that's Alex with an X, Alix King. And here is your LinkedIn. So that's the other place people can come and find you. Just quickly though, Alex, what's your Instagram? Because I couldn't find you on Instagram because you're not under Alex.
Lixiloo, Li 3 X's YLOO. I think somebody had taken my name. Loads of people had my name, and I thought, how rude.
There were a few because I was looking for Alex King, but I couldn't see. So
I'll get it. I'll show you the picture.
I'll definitely put it in the show notes so that people can find you there. And just while you're doing that, if anybody wants my free download of Speak with Confidence 101, the ultimate guide, then you can go to subscribepage.io/Speak with Confidence, and you can get that free download there, which is my 3 B's to speaking in public. Lixiloo,
With 3 X's, and I'm drinking a cocktail.
And that's a picture of Alex drinking a cocktail. Fabulous. Fabulous. Thank you. And if you need to find me, I'm at Power to Speak. And I will see you next week. I'm solo next week, but after that, I have the fabulous Fab Gianetti.
Do you?
I do. I've forgotten her surname. How is it?
Giovanetti.
Giovanetti, that's the one. Fabulous. Thank you so much for your time today, Alex. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I have really enjoyed every single moment. And as that was your first time on a live, you did incredibly well. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
And I'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye.